Hi guys, I'm Anna Victoria, and I'm gonna be taking you through a killer booty workout. We are gonna be using resistance bands for a few of the moves, but it's not required, so you can also complete this workout without them. All right, are you guys ready? Let's get started. All right, so we're gonna get started with the first circuit, and we're gonna be doing clamshells. So if you have your resistance band, you wanna put it right above your knees. If you don't have it, that's totally okay. You just wanna stack your knees right on top of the other, and then stack your feet as well. Now to do the clamshell, you're just going to raise that top leg and keep your feet together throughout the entire move. That's really important. And your upper body is supporting you. You want to be sure that your elbow is placed directly underneath your shoulder. And the really important thing to remember when you're doing clamshells is that you want to be squeezing your glute medius. The reason why this is so important to strengthen is because this is going to help turn off your hip flexors. So if any of you ever have any trouble with feeling like your hip flexors are straining or that they're taking over, that usually is a result of a weak top butt. So this is a really great move to strengthen your glute medius. And then once you finish on the left side, you just want to turn around and do it on the opposite side. Another really great tip is to be sure that you're not leaning back. You don't want to be shifted back or shifted too much forward. You want to be directly on your side. And then just raise that top leg. And you can also pause if you ever feel like, I'm doing this, but I'm just not feeling it in my glutes. What you want to do is pause at the top and touch your glute medius. That's called the mind muscle connection. And that's just another way for ourselves to tell our bodies like, this is where you need to squeeze. So it's a really great thing to do if you feel like you want further muscle engagement. All right, now the next move is going to be a donkey kick. And you're gonna get onto your hands and knees, and you want to raise your knee back. Try to keep your knee at a 90-degree angle, and your hands should be placed directly underneath your shoulder. As you raise your leg, you actually are going to be feeling it in the opposite glute. And be sure that you are breathing through the move as well. And another great tip is that you want to be sure that you're squeezing your core. It's really easy to just relax, but you want to actually be bracing your core. That is going to help you be sure that you have proper form and that you're squeezing the right muscles. And then you're gonna switch sides. And when you do this, you wanna be sure that you're not shifting your upper body around. Your upper body should be completely stable. And your back should not be arched, so you don't want it to be arched. That's gonna be engaging your lower back when you actually wanna be engaging your glutes. All right, be sure to breathe through each rep. And then we're gonna move on to fire hydrants. So with fire hydrants, they're really similar to donkey kicks. All you're gonna do is you're gonna be raising your leg out to the side. These are also kind of like the clams that we just did, but they're on your knees. So you just raise your leg out to the side. You're gonna be feeling it in that glute medius on both sides. Be sure to keep your core tight. And breathe through each rep. This is where you're really gonna start to feel that burn in your glutes. All right, and then you're gonna switch sides. And just like with the donkey kicks, you don't want your upper body to be wiggling. You want it to be as stable as possible. You might feel like you want to compensate and shift your hips out to the side, but you want to avoid doing that. And if you feel the need to do that, that means that you probably don't have that glute strength yet, but that's okay. All you need to do in that case is don't raise it as high, and you can even take off a few reps if you need. Last one, all right. So that is your first circuit. Take a quick 30-second break, and then we're gonna move on to circuit 2. All right, now we're gonna move on to circuit 2, and we don't need resistance bands, so you can set these aside. and we're gonna get started with lying inner thigh raises. So what you wanna do is to lay on your side and have your left leg in front of your right, and then you're gonna raise your the leg that's on the ground up as high as you can and lower it. And you wanna try to squeeze your inner thigh through this movement. Similarly to the clamshells, you don't wanna be shifted back and you don't wanna be shifted too far forward. You wanna be exactly on the side. And you can kind of use your upper body to stabilize you a bit, but you really want your inner thighs to be doing the majority of the work. You should be feeling the burn in both of your inner thighs, the one that's being raised and the one that's on the ground. Last one, and then switch sides. And you want to also be sure that you're not slouching your upper body. Be sure that you're supporting yourself with your arm. And if you can, pause at the peak to get that extra inner thigh engagement. All right, last one. Now we're going to get up on the ground and we're going to do a sumo squat with tippy toe raises. You want to start with your feet wider than shoulder width apart and your toes pointed outward. And you're gonna squat down. And then when you raise up, you wanna go up on your tippy toes and hold for a brief moment. Be sure that you breathe and squeeze your core. A good rule of thumb to remember for breathing is that you always wanna breathe on the hard part. So you wanna exhale on the hard part. So breathe in as you go down, and then exhale on the way up, and that is going to help with that further muscle engagement. Will also help with balance a little bit. This is a really great move, both for inner thighs and for balance, which is really important to work on to be sure that functionally your training is also helping you in day-to-day life as well. Okay, now we're gonna move on to crab walks with the squat jump. So these ones are gonna get your heart rate up, but also gonna target the booty as well. So you want to start in a squat position. Squat back like you're sitting in a chair, and then you're going to pivot forward with your left leg, and then pivot with your right. One more pivot, and then jump. And then you can continue going forward if you have the space, or if you don't, you can just turn around. Do 3 crab walks, and then jump. And when you jump, you want to be sure that you're really squeezing your glutes and your quads. Okay. Be sure that you stabilize yourself each time. So when you land, you stabilize, and then you continue the movement. So you're really gonna be feeling it in your quads and in your glutes. And if you can't do the jumping part, if you need a modification, you can just go up onto your tippy toes, just like with the sumo squat tippy toe raise. Whew. Really gets your heart rate up. All right, last one. Be sure that you're breathing through this as well. All right, now that was your second circuit. Go ahead and take a quick 30-second rest, and then we're gonna move on to circuit 3. Okay, now it's time for our third and last circuit, and we're gonna get started with a single leg deadlift. So how you're going to do these, it's gonna require a little bit of balance. And if you don't have it, that's totally okay. I'm right there with you. So it's something that we can work on. So what you wanna do is you want to just bend over, and you don't wanna dip all the way down to the ground. You wanna stop when your upper body is parallel, and then push yourself back up. When you push yourself back up, you actually want to be pushing through this heel, and you want to be hinging your hips. So the turn of your body should not necessarily be in your upper body bending, but it should be in your hips hinging, and then your upper body and your legs should follow. And then push yourself back up. Usually this move is actually done with a weight, which kind of makes it easier. So this is definitely a harder version. So if you do have a weight at home, you can grab something or just anything around the house and hold on to it in this hand, and then that will help you balance a little bit. So this is actually the more advanced version. And when you do this, something that makes your balance a little bit easier is to look at one spot on the ground. If you're looking all around, that's when you tend to lose your balance. Okay, and push back up, and then you want to switch sides. Be sure that you're keeping your core tight through the movement as well. That will help you balance. And as I mentioned, you don't want your knees to turn inward, so with squats or with this move as well. And so if you feel like your balance is not super strong, that's totally okay, because this is a move that's gonna help you work on it, but you wanna be sure that you are pushing your knee out. So you want to avoid your knee from caving in. Now you don't necessarily have to pause at the top. You can if you want, but you can just bend over, hinge your hips, and come right back up. So this is a move that is going to work your hamstrings and your glutes as well, and your balance, which is always great. Last one. All right, now we're going to move on to an around the world lunge. So what you're going to do is you're going to start by lunging forward and then to the side, and then you're gonna lunge back and repeat that on the opposite side. Now when you lunge forward, you wanna be sure that your front knee is not passing your front toe, and that when you stand back up, you're pushing through your heel. On this one, you wanna be sure that, remember, you don't want that knee to cave in, so be sure that you're pushing your knee out, and then bring yourself back up with your heel. And on this one, you're going to be on your toe in the back and push yourself up with the opposite heel. And then repeat. Be sure you're breathing. This is the point where your heart rate is really up there. So if you're feeling it in your glutes and you're breaking a sweat, that means that you're doing it right. This is going to work your inner thighs, your quads, your hamstrings, and your glutes. All right, one more set. And you can either have your hands up here or you can have them on your waist, whatever helps you balance. Okay, now we're moving on to our final move, which is going to be a squat jump, burpee, and a plank. So for this one, we're gonna be putting the hair up, and you are going to be starting in a squat position, and you wanna be sure that you are stable, and then you jump up, hop down to a high plank, bring yourself down to a plank, and hold this for 3 seconds, and then you're gonna pop back up, and then do a squat jump. Now, if you need to do a modification, instead of hopping back up or hopping down, you can just step up and then you can do the jump, or you can just go up on your tippy toes. Hold it, 1, 2, 3, hop back up. And you wanna remember with the plank that you don't want your hips to be raised, you also don't want them to be drooped. You want your body in a straight line. You want to focus on bringing your belly button up to your spine, and you actually kind of want your shoulders to be rounded a little bit, just so that you can be sure that you are engaging your core the right way. Right here, squeeze. Here, last one. Jump as high as you can. All right, and that is your circuit 3. Now we're gonna do a quick cool down. So since we primarily worked our legs, you're gonna get down on the ground and gradually slow down your breathing. Get a good stretch of your inner thighs. Take a minute just to sit and breathe. In through your nose, out through your mouth. And switch legs. If you can, try to bend over without rounding over your back. all you can do is touch your toes, that's totally okay. Or just touch your knee, whatever you can do is totally fine. And then one more stretch. If you want to bring your ankle across the opposite knee, and you can either hold this stretch in a static move or you can drop your hips to each side. This is one of my favorites to really open up your hips. The further away your foot is, the less of a stretch it is, so the closer you get, the more of a stretch. And then switch on the opposite side, and remember to breathe. All right, thanks so much for working out with me. For more, you can follow me at Anna Victoria, and I'll see you guys next time.